Welcome to I can't even.
Oh,
This is clearly a special episode all about sex because you guys have wanted to know all about sex. You've asked questions. You've been saying to do an episode. So we are serving you it hot.
fucking and sucking and all the stuff you like, served up raw for your enjoyment, engorgement, both those together.
Okay, where do you want to start, Rosey? This is
Oh my god, I feel like I am like blushing. I feel like a little nun right now. I used to. It's so weird to like. I don't know. I'm an old fuddy duddy. Let's see here. Ooh,
Are you?
I don't want to like. What? Hold on. Let me like. I don't want to ramp it up. What? Do you remember? Like the first time that when you were young that you like saw someone that you were super into and you knew like I'm gonna make this happen.
Yeah, I do, but I also was like, I feel like it was because I was in a relationship. I actually was terrified to like do as a kid because I had this like because I had a friend tell me it hurt so bad. Like my friend was like had an older sister, and so when we were younger, apparently she like had sex and was bleeding, and all I heard was my friend at the time, we were really young, was like, my sister was really painful, and I was like, fuck that, I am never having sex. Like, holy shit, it actually scared me to the point where I wouldn't use a tampon because I was fucking terrified. So I was like scared. So I mean, I had sex at a normal age. I had sex at 16. I feel like that's pretty.
I think I was around the same age.
Standard.
Yeah, I think I was like exactly that age, actually.
I actually feel like I knew it was going to happen, but also didn't because in my head, I was like, all I kept doing was like really tensing up because I literally thought it was going to hurt. And then obviously it didn't hurt. At least for me, it didn't hurt. And I was like, woo, 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 woo. Like, so I definitely remember my first time.
Well, I mean, here's what we go. We are such a cloudy line of like what a first time is, you know, especially when we bring up our
Very
LGBT sisters.
Very true. Very true.
You know, it's like because I got fingered a whole bunch in high school, but like my first penetrative sex experience with a man was like 2 pumps, and then the Catholic guilt took over. And I dated the most Catholic dude in high school, and
because you went to a Catholic school, right?
Yeah, okay. I did because major bad mistake because I just love the aesthetic, you know what I mean? I was very dark academia before that was a thing. I was like, I don't know what it is, I just want to like live in like a world that looks like Dead Poet Society or like Gilmore Girls. I just wanted that. So I was like Catholic school, and then the reality of Catholic school sets in, and it's a lot of.
So you had a lot of guilt, like with your first time. You were like,
I didn't. I thought he was. I mean, truth be told, I was kind of like, Jesus Christ, like, come on, dude. Like, he didn't masturbate to completion.
Okay.
Because you know you can't spill your seed when you're in high school. When you're not in high school, you can't spill your seed. It's like a sin.
Yeah.
So like,
I get it. Okay. Learning new things about this whole situation. Got it.
You cannot spill the holy seed.
Is that what they actually say? Is that what it's called? Like,
I think spilling your seed. Yes,
that's a very weird term.
That's putting so much fucking like importance on semen. Like I can't even. Like I spill my fucking seed every month. My body does it for me. You know.
Very true. Like were you, after you had sex for the first time, were you like very like open having sex after that, or did you like wait a while?
I waited a while, but I think it was because I just like didn't get attention, to be honest with you. I was like super cute and pretty my freshman and sophomore year of high school, and then like some kind of depression like settled in, and I gave myself like a homemade haircut that looked like I was Frankenstein. Tiny little bangs and a bob that wasn't a bob. And I was just like super into wearing combat boots, like not cute combat boots like we have now, but like fucking ugly, like Frankenstein shoes. I was very like, get away from me kind of a girl. And then in college, I feel like my task was more completed in college. Like I definitely had, I mean, lots of handies, BJs, fingering, all that shit in high school. And then when I got to college, oh boy, a gentleman performed oral sex on me for the first time. And thus I began like a full 4-year crush on him. Cause like once someone provides you that attention.
So
and
then
then
in college, were you pretty like sexually active?
yes and no. Again, also kind of like I just think that I thought I was so much cooler than I was, but I was a theater major, like a musical theater major, trying to hang out with, well, they took away musical theater as a major and I couldn't sing. So I was like more of a theater major, I'll be honest. Hanging out with like punk boys, like crust punk boys.
So this was me as well. Okay, cool.
And I had sex with one guy in college because one guy ate me out in college and I like was in love with him and he was like a crust punk guy from like Lubbock, Texas. And he like played drums and he played guitar and I was like, oh my God, I fucking love you. And I became obsessed with him. It was probably very one-sided. Like we kind of had an on and off thing where he would get drunk and come pick me up and like drive around and listen to the Mountain Goats and all the other like indie bands,
yeah.
And so there was this guy that I had a crush on in high school who was going to my college, and in my high school he was a cool guy. He was like a jazz drummer who was like extremely talented, and like he toured Japan as a jazz drummer. He was like very respected, and he was like the lead drummer at this music college that I was attending. And he got into a motorcycle accident that had him wheelchair bound.
Oh, wow.
And he actually fucked up his wrists. So I think that he was just in a really dark and low place. It sounds so awful. But my self-esteem was so low in college. And I was like, he will fuck me. This guy that like I thought it was so cute, like a hipstery type guy in high school. And then, I just let him pop all my cherries. I let him pop my ass cherry. I was just like, go for it, dude. And I mean, it was definitely like a relationship of convenience, hey, come on over. And during this time, I was a bigger girl like I am now, but I like lost 80 pounds and then I stopped fucking him. And he was like, he's like, are you not fucking me anymore because you're skinny now? And at the time I was like, no, but in my mind I was like, maybe.
So this was in high school or college?
This is in college, but like I first like knew him in high school. Got it. And I probably like romanticized him too much. He had a long-term girlfriend in high school, so off limits to me. But in college, he was broken down, and so I was like, go for it. And then from there, like I moved to LA, and my number went from like 2 people to like 35 people. So.
I would imagine LA will do wild things to people.
Yeah,
I had my first sexual experience, like penetration wise, was like I said, when I was 16, and it was with someone that I was dating. I dated them on and off for a long time. I actually spoke about them in one of the last podcasts. And I had this image as a kid that sex was supposed to look and act like a porno. That's what so whenever I had sex, I assumed that I needed to like whip my hair and like be very like porno like. And so I
hit my face on the mic.
Yeah, like I literally thought like you have to be very just like that kind of vibe, which was fun. I was a very sexual. I actually was I'm kind of always been a very sexual person in that aspect. And like I think that it obviously has its benefits, but it was so weird because as a kid, I don't know why. I just always assumed. Because when you were watching HBO as a kid, you'd be watching like a normal show and then it hit a certain time and then it would be like HBO After Dark, but it was like softcore porn. I literally was watching it when we were watching like Shrek or something, me and my friends in my bed, a sleepover, and literally we go to sleep, falling asleep to fucking Shrek. We wake up and the girls are screaming They're screaming in my fucking bed. And they're like, Ashlee's disgusting. She watches naked people on the TV. And I was like, what the fuck? Next day I go to school. Everyone's calling me a lesbian because there was naked women on my TV. And ever since that, I like would, you peep those channels when you're a kid. You're like, what is this? Like, I assume that's just like how it was. So I would, from 16 on, I would like I was pretty wild. I was with the same person though. That's the thing. I was with the same person until I hit about like 18, 19. And then I had other people and I was very like, woohoo, yeah, let's get wild. But like, I look back and I'm like, wow, like I've had sex in a lot of interesting fucking places. Like, I don't know if you were like that as a kid or not a kid, but like younger and you had sex in quite wild places. But I was just like, it was an interesting time.
I didn't get that way until I was in my most recent relationship.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I have to ask, where's the weirdest place you've ever had sex? I can tell you mine.
I provided my fiance oral pleasure in a public library.
Oh my God. Wow. That's like kind of like a TV like story kind of thing.
It's nasty, especially when you're an adult, like when you're a teenager, you don't factor in things. But like as an adult, I'm like, oh man, I could get slapped with like a sexual deviancy. Some, like something where I have to like
you start to get
older
and you're like, you're like thinking, oh, like wow, the consequences of this. Yeah, I had it was when I've had a few. I've had like in the car parking lots outside the car, like on a hood of a car. Like I've done it in drive-throughs. When I say drive-throughs, I mean literally the grassy patch in the drive-through when people are going to like fast food restaurants. Yeah, no, that was me on the ground in the grass, like rolling around having sex. Don't ask why. There's been weird times, but one of the craziest times was in New York City. We had went to a burlesque show.
Ooh.
Been drinking, had a good amount of drinks, had fun. We were walking to the subway station. Behind there's like stairs that go, up and down to get to up ground. Well, there's like obviously a little dead area behind the stairs, and we were waiting for the train. And while waiting for the train, we had sex in a subway station in New York City. I have to say that's pretty fucking crazy.
This is your This is your husband?
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
there, and Charlie.
Yeah.
If anyone knows Charlie, like Charlie is a sweet angel baby face. And so, and everyone when he met me was like, do you know Ashlee? Like, because everyone at the salon at the time would be like, come to me with their sex stories, ask me for advice, people would be like, how do you take a sexy photo? Like just like weird sex questions. And I was always there to answer. And so people were like, your like girlfriend's very like sexual. And he was like, yeah. And like, it's just because they saw his persona and my persona and we were like so opposites. So it was like very like not Charlie, like for him to do that, but like in a good way. I was like, wow, Charlie, like this is wild. Like, okay. So this is why New York City actually has my heart.
It's got a couple other things.
Because a couple other things. But yeah, I feel like I definitely had like, I was just always one of those people that I kind of liked having sex in weird spots. I know some people do and some people don't. Some people love like a typical like room. And some people are like, no, I like it on a rooftop, like with wind blowing. Like
it's exciting. I get it. And there's a time and a place for all different types of experiences.
Yeah.
You became acquainted. I told you about Vacation Houston, which is an official term trademarked by myself.
Vacay Houston.
Vacay Houston is
spicy,
insane. Like not anything. I just feel like something happens to Houston when he is traveling. I think it's just like he doesn't have the laptop on him. He's not checking emails. He's not.
It's I think it's because you guys, and I understand where he comes from because you guys work together.
Yeah.
You and Charlie work together. And when it's kind of hard to sometimes like separate and like be emotional. But then when you're away and you're like, oh, I'm on fucking vacation, you're like, like, let's live this shit up. You know what I mean? Yes. Imagine if he went to like out of the country with you. Y'all about to get crazy.
Oh, we went to Paris pretty early in our relationship, probably like way too soon, but I guess I feel like that's for people that like don't travel frequently. Mm-hmm, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think we went to Paris maybe 5 months into our relationship.
Oh, that's not weird. I think that's normal.
Started planning it like 2 months in just because like we had to plan like so far in advance. And oh my God, Houston and Paris. I think that
should be on Houston and Paris. That's the movie.
If you now, I mean, if you're watching my geotags, y'all, if you see that I'm traveling, just know that I'm smiling for a real
I
reason.
am crying. Have you always used, like, when you were in high school, did you use sex toys in high school, or do you use sex toys? Like, how?
Yes, I did use sex toys in high school. And I think like as soon as I turned 18, because I turned 18 the summer before my senior year, I like my friends and I went, I was like, I want to go to a sex shop. And I think that they were just like not ready for it in the way that I was like so excited.
Yeah.
And I bought a vibrator and I sent everyone home. Like I sent like it was supposed to be like a birthday party.
You're like,
I was like, you guys need to leave. And I came in like 2 minutes and I was like, well, that was fucking like, I mean, it was great. I loved it. Like going from like using your hands or like a hairbrush handle to a vibrator is like incredible. So I'm sure I came in maybe like 30 seconds. Like if we're being honest.
Isn't that so funny that there's always some stories of when you're younger and you use some like weird fucking object to like.
Oh yeah, I did that like post, you know, in a pinch. If I didn't have my vibrator with me, I would still do something like that.
So I actually have, it's so weird because I was obviously sexually active as of, 16 and up, and like had a boyfriend for a long time and had sex with him frequently. But it was so weird because I never understood sex toys because I had went to a sex shop. I think I went when I was like 16 or so. I had fake ID. So I would go with my older friends. And I was just like, oh, cool. Like looking at all the stuff. Like I never was weird about sex shops. It was very like normal to me. Like, okay, cool. There's like costumes, there's toys, whatever. But I think it's because when I was younger, I think I was like maybe 17. I got like this like texture, like I don't know, like a dildo or so. It didn't vibrate, didn't do anything. So I like got that. And I like tried to use it. I was like, this is the fucking worst thing ever. Like, I'm not even like, it's not doing anything. Like, a human body is much better than this. Like, what is this? And so I was like, there's just no point. Like, how do people use sex toys and actually get off on them? There's like no way. So I have to literally break the news that I recently started using sex toys probably a year ago for the first, like, actually good, and it changed my fucking life. Like, I am glad that I never knew, because I had such a weird experience with the shitty sex toy that I bought, and then I assumed in my head that like there's nothing going to be as good as like a person, a hand, a dick, a vagina, whatever. I never thought. And then like I think it was probably honestly like Trisha Paytas kept talking about sex toys and how much she swears by them. And I was like, are they really that good? And then I saw obviously a lot of people do like ads with sex toys. Sometimes I'm like, okay, do you really use that? Or you just, whatever. But I was like, okay, a lot of people are talking about sex toys. Like maybe there's something to this. So I start researching because I'm like, I want something to be like, spice up the romance, like get wild, like, woo, yay. Like I used to love like dressing up or like wearing certain costumes, whatever. So I started Googling and like I researched, I have them with me. So this one was highly recommended on Amazon.
Ooh.
Then I like got this and I was like, okay, what the fuck? Like these things are crazy. Like, how does this do this magic? I'm very honestly mad that I was not a sex toy creator, because this shit's fucking crazy. And then literally within like the timeline of me getting that, this company sent me a huge package for Valentine's Day, and they sent me the Lilo, which is like kind of an expensive toy. Holy moly jolie. Like I've been sleeping on this shit, and all these women all my life have been like talking about sex toys, how positive they are, how amazing they are. And I'm like, what the fuck have I been doing? And even my like I've talked to other people and some of them are like, yeah, I've never really thought sex toys could like actually do anything, but like, hello, I'm shocked. Like, do you have a certain type of sex toy that you prefer?
Yeah, I have one that's actually really similar to what you have. I didn't bring my examples. Sorry. It's like shaped like a C, and it's got a clitoral stimulator on one side. It's like kind of the suction, the air suction.
Oh wait, what brand is this? Do you know? Because I think
it has like a gross, stupid name, like Walk the Dog or something. Like, you know what? I actually, let me go through my.
Wait,
Amazon.
Is it We Vibe? Is it by We Vibe?
No, it's about like it's called something with dog, and it's like, why the fuck would I want?
I have to like look this up. Like,
I'm looking up dog sex toy, and I feel like that's fucking up. That's like a bad Google search. Oh God,
I'm dead.
There's oh no, I just found something disgusting on Amazon.
It's like, you guys, I can't handle Rosey's right now.
Oh my God. I should have the name. Okay. So I literally, I should not have
fuck
Googled.
out.
I left it. It was just on Amazon. Oh no. That made me so sad. It was like literally a fucking fleshlight, but it was shaped like a stuffed dog toy.
That's weird. Why would anyone want that? Like, what is wrong? Like,
Maybe it's like a gag gift.
oh
You
my
know what I mean?
God.
But somebody
So yours
probably
is
uses
like,
it.
let's just go, like, yours is like a C shape. So does it have like penetration and a clitoral stimulator?
Yeah, clitoral stimulation. It's like one that's like the most popular, highest voted one on Amazon.
Wait, what? Because
And it has
this one
something
was
like
super high. So now I'm like wondering what the heck yours is. That's
I'm looking up
crazy.
like I have to
Wait,
exit
but
out dog
but does
sex
yours
toy.
have like a suction like this? Have you tried these ones with the suction?
Yeah, that's at one of the ends is like
Okay,
that.
because like wow, life changing.
I have to find this now because I don't want the
Have you
fucking
tried
phrase
the famous one that's like the one that's like the original? Have you tried that one?
the rabbit.
No, the wand, the giant wand.
Oh, yes, I have.
Is it work?
It's great, girl. That thing that can get you off through your jeans, honey.
What I was gonna think about buying one because I was like, everyone swears that it's the original. Like it's so good.
It's great. It's great. And if honestly,
You
I stopped
said that
using it.
gets you off through your fucking jeans.
Yeah, girl, that's strong. I actually stopped using that. I don't even know where it is. I think I left it in LA. Shit.
You just threw it on the streets. Goodbye. See you later.
Maybe somebody found it and they're having a good time with it, or it's in a landfill somewhere. That thing is intense. I think that I had to stop using it because I feel like it sort of made me numb to like other experiences.
Destimulate. That's what I read, that you can get like because you have to take a break, and like that's the one thing I'm like, that's wild. Like fuck.
But like, if you need to get there, it's gonna get you there real quick.
I just see that always pop up on Amazon, and people say like a lot of people have it at home, and they say it's like crazy powerful or something. I don't know.
I'm so like I opened a can of worms with this like Amazon shit.
God. You know what? You know what else someone sent me in this package with the Lilo? They sent me pearl underwear, and so I thought they were gonna have like pearl design, but then I didn't realize they're pearl. I haven't worn them or anything, but I didn't realize people wear, because me and Charlie were googling because we're like, what is the point of this? Like the pearls go up your fucking hoo-ha, and I didn't realize it's to like stimulate you while you wear them. The pearls like
shit
rub your vagina. Like I was like, oh my gosh.
Okay, so I found the vibrator that I got, and it's not on Amazon anymore. It had literally like a stupid name with the word dog in it, and I was like, that's such an unappealing name. It exists. I don't look up dog dildo or dog, like don't look it up on Amazon. You'll find a whole horror show of things.
Also, I don't know, is on your side, this is random, sorry to interrupt this, but is my computer lagging on your end?
As you asked that question, it was like a robot was talking to me very slow. But before that,
okay, sorry for the interruption. We are back, folks. Some technical difficulties happened.
Too hot for TV.
Too hot for TV. Okay, wait. We found out Rosey's sex toy. What it's
sex
called.
toy? It's called Tracy's dog. I'm sorry. Please never look up dog sex toy. Like, I did find some things that, like, when I looked that up, it said like overstimulation tool, which I assume you use like when your dog's a little too horny. So
weird.
Who knows? I don't know.
Do you use anything else besides like vagina stuff?
Yeah, so obviously we are big proponents of lubricant. We have some great like CBD cannabis lube that's incredible.
I think you told me about this, and wait, or was it you or was it someone else? Someone is sworn by this shit.
Oh, I told you about it because it comes in a tincture, just like you would take the CBD sublingually.
This shit.
And in the middle of the night, I was like, I had an anxiety attack, and I was like, I need my CBD, and so I drank the lube.
Oh, that's the lube you drank. Now I get because I was like, how the fuck did you accidentally drink? Now I get the whole thing. Okay.
In a tincture, I keep both at my bedside table. It's it's easy, you can confuse your equilibria ladies, your equilibria women. Equilibria should make some lube, right?
That would be, I mean, they have body stuff already. So yeah, that would be like super smart. Someone else talked about CBD lube though. I know you did, and you said it was amazing though. So
it's great. It's really nice. I highly recommend it. What's a bit interesting is like I feel like I'm definitely at an age where I'm sensing that I need lubricant where I
Mm-hmm.
didn't before. And that's literally happened in the last 6 months. And it is, I'm glad that we had like already had lube in our home as something that was like fun to experiment with
Yeah.
and play with. Because I think that for some women, there's some shame around using
Yeah,
lubricant.
I don't get it because honestly, like even the people who can get like used to, it's still good to you. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
You can go longer and harder with lube.
yeah,
And I think that's great.
I
Like,
do feel like there is this kind of like weird thing, like, oh, you have to use lube.
oh, my pussy isn't soaking wet.
It's like,
Like,
what?
I'm sure that like with anything that comes with sexual performance, it's easy to feel like my body isn't up to snuff
Sure.
or just like aging in general. I feel like women are we're so afraid and it's we've been conditioned to be afraid. And I think that like with some partners, there are some insensitive partners. Like I definitely had a boyfriend that didn't want me to use a vibrator during sex and like
Oh,
felt,
interesting. Like felt like
emas
it was like against him. Like, oh wow, am I not doing good enough or something?
Yes, he thought like I want to be the one to give you the orgasm, and he took it as like if I can't give it to her, then like it's my fault. And then
Sure.
girl, he went so far as to throw my vibrator away, and he like pretended that I lost it.
Goodbye. That is
And I was like, me lose my vibrator, please,
you said me.
please.
You're like, I know
Me
what that
lose.
thing is all the time. I have a fucking tracker on that bitch.
I use it when you're not here, honey. Like, and for
Are
me to like,
are
yeah,
you
go
the
ahead.
type that you like are you utilizing your vibration stuff like every day? Or are you like a once a week? Are you like a twice? Like do you have like some people I know say like they utilize it every day?
I don't have too high of a libido. Like that's just, I think a lot of my physical satisfaction comes from like cuddling and snuggling. And I feel like there was a long time when I felt like that was like weird, but like being in my long-term relationship that I'm super happy in, I think that like some people would see like our sex schedule as like, oh, something's going
Yeah,
like,
but see, and I think it really has to do with what people think is how often you should have sex, but
yeah,
also like people don't realize when you are in a serious relationship, it's not. I wouldn't even say. I think people go like, oh, if we're not having sex all the time, does that mean our like relationship is dwindling? But
yeah,
like that sometimes, yeah, some people's relationships are dwindling, but a lot of times it's not. Your lives are functioning at a different level, and you don't have to like have sex all the time to
no,
feel that connect. You know what I mean? Like I
yeah.
totally feel you on that.
It and the thing is like I think sex also looks different in so many different ways. Like I think a lot of our sex life is something that people will be like, oh, that's not enough. We do a lot of just like digital penetration and like hand stuff between the both of us. And I feel like a lot of people would see that and think that there's some kind of dysfunction happening, XYZ. But like
Yeah,
when you meet someone who understands you and what you want, and like I've been through different experiences that make me like, I'm never going to have anal sex again, like that's not
yeah,
going to happen.
yeah.
And like, I don't know. It's interesting. I think there's so much emphasis in our culture, particularly through like, I would say common television that
Mm-hmm.
make you feel dysfunctional, disordered, etc. If you kind of do anything that's sort of outside the norm. I feel like there's always a show where like Sex in the City or something like that, where people would be like, yeah, it's normal to have sex 3 times a week. And then they'd be like, how many times have you had sex this
Yeah.
month, person in a dysfunctional relationship? And then she would like look around sheepishly and be like, we've only had sex twice this month.
Yeah. And then
And
it's
I'd be
like
like,
frowned upon, but like in reality, that's not that crazy. Like calm down, people.
I'd be like, sounds normal.
Yeah.
Like twice a month, when you really think about it, like how busy people can be and like how, I don't know what your schedules are, how they conflict, whatever. And I
I
feel like
also
there
think
should
it
be,
really also has a factor of when you work with your significant other. I think that is a big factor. Like, I feel like that changed a lot of dynamics of at least my relationship when we were working separate jobs versus when we're working together and we're constantly communicating all day and like trying, he's working on the computer, I'm doing other stuff. And it's like, yeah, by the end of the day, you're like, I'm fucking tired. Like, can we just like cuddle and watch TV and like chill? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think there's also something that's like when you are truly satisfied, when you are with someone who really understands you, I feel like the amount of satisfaction you can derive
Mm-hmm.
from sexual contact with them lasts longer. So like I feel like when I was maybe a little younger and like in the dating scene, I'd be like, oh, it's been so long since I've had sex. I gotta go get some sex, but
Yeah.
like now I'd be like, oh, well, whenever we both feel like it.
Yeah.
And I don't like, I think that multiple weeks could go by and I'd be like, oh, whoops,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't turn internally. And it's just so weird because I feel like I was definitely, and it might be an age thing, like there are times in my life where I'm very libidinous and horny
Yeah.
and I'll want to have sex all the time. And then there are times where I'm like, oh, it's been 30 days. Happy Monday. Shall we?
I feel like also personally, I feel like I think a lot of people have to, or a few people have talked about this before, is I feel like just naturally hormones right before the time of the month, I'm like very much more like sexual.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeehaw. Like, cause it's just always that time of month. I'm like, ready to go. Let's go. Like, and I hear a lot of other women say, or humans say, like, that is the same for them.
Hormones definitely play a role in it for me. I have PMDD, and that means I kind of like am in a depressive state half of the month and
Yeah.
then not at all for the other half of the month. And I think I totally agree with like, I, especially right before my period, I definitely get that great hormonal surge that makes me very horny. And I will like, we have this joke that like Houston can like fuck the blood out of me. Like, that sounds like if I'm like, oh, I'm a little late, we're like, oh, let's
We'll
have
have
some sex and I'll start bleeding.
Oh my God.
Like I had to get up in there.
I feel like I just can't believe that like I didn't know about sex toys. I feel like I was so behind on that. Like that was such a honestly it happened with the pandemic. I was like at home, I was like, everyone's talking about it. I think it was because more people started again advertising or talking about like sex education. I was like, there must be something to this. So I feel like that's one thing I wish I was taught at a younger age was that more to learn like how to self like pleasure yourself and like learn about your body more than
Yeah.
rely on always like someone else to always have to be there. That was like very eye opening for me.
I have a similar wish for myself, but like kind of opposite. So I definitely masturbated a lot. As soon as I got a vibrator, it was like on like Donkey Kong for like, I always had a vibrator. I feel like I was one of my first friends to like openly like talk about it
Talk
and
about it,
use it.
yeah.
I feel like I left it out on my bed in my college like dorm, and I think not dorm, like apartment. I was sharing an apartment with like 3 other girls, and I think that they like saw my like giant like dildo on my bed, and they were like, "What the fuck, gross!" And I'm like, "Whatever." But I think what I wish for myself when I was in my 20s is to bring that into sex, like with those like one night stands that I had, because I
Yeah.
felt like I never like brought out a toy when I like had a partner. And I think that I was like waiting, like, oh, that's for like relationships. And you don't want people to think that you can't get
Sure.
off. And I would say that I think, I mean, if I'm being honest, Houston is the first man to ever give me an orgasm.
That's
Period.
major.
Period. And nobody else did it. And I
I think
honestly
a
feel like,
lot of women struggle with that though. I think a lot more people than we actually think probably have never had an orgasm and don't realize they haven't had an orgasm. Just like
yeah,
people don't necessarily always know what like squirting is or like what that is, or like people are confused or like, I think a lot of people don't know about those things or understand them.
I just thought, you know what? I can only get off because of like how intense these vibrations like have to be at like max power. Um, but I do think that I had a lot of defenses up. I think I was like with a lot of men that like and women that weren't like, I didn't feel like protected me emotionally, if that makes sense. Like I
Yeah.
just felt like a lot of it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna fuck. You know what I mean? And not like,
That I feel like I went like, through a long phase of that, like partially because I wanted to, because I like kind of like that aspect, but also then it kind of became like, okay, I don't want to just like go into this like that mentality all the time. And like you said, when you feel like secure or protected or like you don't have to do something all the time, it's like it makes it even more enjoyable when you do. And like it's more of a comfortable situation. Like
yeah.
you said, some guys would get really intimidated by having a sex toy in the bedroom, which I'm learning that like, especially I think as people our content creators in our age group, they're talking more about how they use sex toys in the bedroom with their partners. And I think that it's like a very normal, it should be more of a normalized thing because it's only helping both of you guys in the long run. Like you're both going to be much happier if you're doing something that will help you feel better.
I saw some stupid fucking article from like Refinery 29 and it was like how you know if you're having sex in a lazy way. And I think I like did everything on the list and I was like
Yeah.
who wrote this? Like did a 22-year-old write
In
this?
a lazy way. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a weird.
It was like you guys just like both jerk off in bed together and I'm like, yeah, like that seems that's it, there's it's normal. Like I think to put any sort of like this is normal versus not normal label on any sexual practice
Mhm.
is like goofy and
Yeah.
like it's shitty. Like
Yeah.
fuck you.
It's
You
all
know,
it's up to it's a preference for each person. Each preference is so different. So it's like there's not really a normal way.
yeah, and you'd have no idea what your body is going to respond to,
Mhm.
you know? I've been browsing the internet and I've, stumbled across a video and I'd be like, "Oh, I did not know that was ticking one of my
Boxes.
ticks."
Yeah.
Do you watch pornography?
So I don't often, but you know what's interesting is I don't know why I don't more often because first of all, particularly women porn is what for me is very attractive, like turns me on. Um I've never also been one of those people that like my significant other like don't watch porn. You can't watch porn because I think that
Yeah.
is whatever they want to do. It's not like affecting me in a weird way. But I feel like honestly, when I have seen stuff that like there was a random night recently where I was like, oh my gosh, look at this article that I found of this girl's thing. She was like the fucking something or something and got leaked or something. I don't know. I was telling Charlie about some story. I don't even remember. And I remember the me seeing that like was like, oh, that's kind of like a turn on. Like I find women being powerful and confident in videos and like taking control and be like I find that very like attractive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, I feel like I almost should because when I do watch it, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like I'm turned on now. So I feel like I should more, but I don't. I used to probably a little bit more, but no, I don't. Do you?
Yeah, I do. And I feel like my next question would be for me I do it like privately, like without my partner.
No,
And
I totally feel that. Like
and I don't know that like this could be like a security issue, but like I don't think that we've breached or like wanted to do the thing where we watch together.
mhm.
Personally, like I don't really want to know like what he watches because I feel like there aren't as many like I'm sure that like BBWs are very represented in pornography, but like I don't know. I feel like I would just like look at the people in the videos he would choose. I'd be like, well, what's going on there? Or like
Sure,
what's going
yeah.
like what do you I know that I have like some security and confidence issues to work on with that. And I think I would read so much into it,
Sure.
which is like not fair because like I don't feel like he would look at things that I've watched. And I also wouldn't say that anything that I personally watch is necessarily indicative of like a person that I would go date,
Sure.
or like,
I mean, yeah, like I said, mostly it's women stuff is what I
yeah,
prefer. So it's like not anything to do with Charlie. I think I'm on the same page as like watching alone is a lot more enjoyable in my opinion.
I agree. It just seems, and I downloaded this app. I forgot what it was called because sometimes I don't even like watch the porn. I just like hearing
Hear it.
sounds.
Yeah, hear it. Yeah.
And apparently that's very common with women. And so there was an app, I forgot what it was, but it was like erotica and like acted
Okay.
out like as an
And you can
like
just listen to it. Yeah.
yes, like audible, but it just felt so it was acted. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's people in a studio like by themselves acting.
Yeah.
It was not like I was just like, why don't you just like record two people doing it and like anonymously post the audio? Because I feel like that would be
a little bit better than an actor in a studio.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, what's cool about that is if that was like an app or something, I think it might encourage people to be adventurous sexually
Mhm.
because I wouldn't want to like film and post a video of myself on the internet with my partner. But I could see being like, oh, let's make up names and we could
Sure,
like record
yeah.
ourselves like auditorily and like submit it. Like I think a lot of
I
people
think
would
a
do
lot of
that.
people would do that. Yeah, I do think a lot of people do. Have you ever had like a threesome?
Yes.
Wow, that's you. I have never surprised. I
Not
think that's
not with
surprising for
my
some, but no, I
not in a
haven't.
relationship. I've been the guest star.
Oh, the guest star. I like that. I've been the guest star. Welcome, welcome to the room.
And they broke up not that long afterwards, which is a cliche,
Did you enjoy? Like, was it an enjoyable thing?
Yes, I think it was. I think the first time I was like kind of invited in with a couple, and the second time was a girlfriend of mine. There was a guy who was like kind of into both of us, and we were both like, as a joke, like, let's invite him over here and
Got
pretend like we're
it.
gonna fuck him. And then we
Ended up,
did.
yeah.
And I think that that was like a little bit more like awkward because like we're still pals now. And I don't think it was like I don't think that she was awkward. I don't think that I was awkward. I think that we were both fucking sexy machines, but I feel like the guy
Yeah.
we chose was a loser. Like that's
Got
what
it. Yeah, I get it.
I think it was maybe it was like one of those things where you're like, this is empowering for us.
Do you feel
And
like so? You feel like after like that happened, even though like with you guys being friends, like it's totally normal. I love that. Like how it's
yeah, I think it's something that we like. Honestly, I like forget about it until like I'm asked, have
until
you
you're
been
at,
anywhere?
yeah.
Because like she and I are good friends, and it's just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, I saw you naked. Cool. We were in the same bed. Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we both probably would reflect on that, like, oh my God, that guy. And probably that's why I don't remember it, because the guy was just like, and I think, but the first time was exciting.
Was he just bad at what he was doing? Like,
Just like, I think he's just, I hate that I said, I feel like loser is kind of a mean write off of somebody, you know what I
sure.
mean? But he definitely was like a dude who like would Facebook message us when he was a little tipsy.
Got it.
Like a loser. Like I'm
Got it.
sorry, but like
You, I mean, some that's if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. That's warranted. You're like Facebook message me when he's tipsy. That's
and he would
funny.
always try to like have phone sex even though he like
Oh
lived down the
wow.
street. You know,
Okay.
like minimal effort and just like I think that like out of all the people we could have like rewarded with this like threesome,
It shouldn't have
why
been
him?
him. Yeah.
Exactly. But the other time was a sexy occasion.
Oh wow.
I was 23 and I hung out with this couple and they were in their mid 30s.
Okay.
So
They were older, a little bit older.
they were older, really experienced, cool people. She lived in a bunch of countries. He was a theater director, like, and he also like did a lot of like philanthropic like outreach. So like, he would do like feeding the homeless and like doing like theater outreach stuff. So like they just seemed very cosmopolitan to me as a younger person. And we would hang out all the time. And there was like one time where we would always go to this one club in LA called Harvard and Stone, which probably dates me. It was like whenever I was going, this was like a cool club in Hollywood to go to. And it was like a whiskey bar that was like very industrial. And they had like pinup girls that look kind of like Rosey the Riveter come and like, do sexy dances.
Yeah.
It was owned by the Masterson brothers. So like Danny Masterson, who's a creep, and his brother, I forget his brother's name, but he's on Malcolm in the Middle. So they own this bar and we would go to this bar a lot. And so they took me out to dinner and then they took me to this bar, bought everything for me, showered me with compliments. As soon as I like walked into their house before we went out, they were like, oh, your body looks so beautiful in this like dress that you're wearing. Doesn't her body look beautiful? And they were like, I think that like the whole night I kind of felt the vibe, even though these were like my friends that I'd hung out with, like when this vibe wasn't there. And we went out to dinner, we went out to dance. They bought me my drinks. We came home and they were like, oh, do you want to spend the night? And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I like post up on the couch and they're like, no, we were thinking that you could sleep with us in our bed. And I was like, okay.
So you were friends with them before this?
Yeah. And then like after it happened, we and I didn't know the rules. Like I don't know what their rules were. I didn't know. Sure. I just didn't. I was like, okay, they're really serious couple. Maybe I don't let him penetrate me.
Like you didn't know. Yeah, you didn't. You had no idea.
There are no ground rules. So I didn't really know how to behave. And then I was like, okay, if she like leaves the room, do I still do stuff with him? Is that appropriate? And vice versa, kind of a thing. Definitely didn't know. And then we like all went out to brunch the next day. And she was like, we were like porn stars last night. Like she was so like pumped about it.
How long did it last? Like the whole thing that night?
I think a few hours. I think
Holy
that we had some like
shit ski.
I think we had some like rest breaks, like got some water, went back
I'm
to it.
fascinated by this whole thing.
I think it was a very fun experience for a young woman in the city. You move to a big city. Out of like all the people that could have happened with, like, I'm not friends with them now. They broke up. I think, he was like kind of flirty with me after the fact. Like there was like one time after they had broke up, I still like would go see shows that he like was directing or whatever. I was like kind of a peripheral friend of his. And there was like one time where his friend like wanted him to like watch like house sit for him for like a weekend. And he had like a Mercedes, like a convertible, like a red convertible classic. And he was like, you can take this out. So he like called me and like drove me around LA in this convertible. And that was like really fun. But he was like a very respectful man and didn't like try to like coerce me into anything.
Sure, yeah.
Or he didn't even like come on to me. I feel like maybe he would want to, but maybe he was waiting for me to initiate
it. Yeah.
But I think
interesting. I love hearing people's stories like that. Yeah. I've never experienced that, but I always wonder how your experience is. And it's good that you had like good ones.
It's kind of like a coming of age sort of a thing. I think that I was very young and inexperienced. And I think that was a great moment of confidence for me to have this, like what I thought as like a very interesting, successful, like couple, like people that I admired, like who both found me like attractive and wanted to do this with me. Like, I think it was like a cool story that you tell as like a grandmother. You're like not a grandmother, but like, tell your great.
We're like, come around the fire, kids. Let me tell you the story.
You want to hear about how grandma got fucked? I'll tell you the story.
Like, Mom, I don't want to go to grandma's house anymore. She tells this really fucked up story. Grandma's wild.
I was beautiful.
I feel like, okay, is there any other things we want to cover on this sex talk? Since we've gotten through so many, we've talked about vibrators, we've talked about threesomes. I'm trying to think if you have any other questions that we'd like to answer, because we did a little question box on stories. I didn't know if
I did a little question box.
Let's see. We're reading them to see if there's any more that we need to cover.
Let's see here. Someone says there's some funny. I'm not going to say it's funny. Any question? I just feel like sometimes how people phrase things is funny. Let's see. Yeah, here's a simple one, but I feel like it.
Okay.
Comment.
Hit it.
Your favorite position.
Oh, duh. Why haven't we talked? That's such a good one, though. Just simple. Oh, I would say doggy or like on the side, maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like that's been like, I don't know. I think those would be my two.
I'm kind of like a doggy also, but that's when I'm like really like ramped up and I think energetic. I like to, and I will be the power doggy, if you will. I will be going back myself. But I think I also just like, it's cliche. I like missionary. I think it's romantic, and I think it's like a hug with some boning. And I feel like I
think it's because I'm like not like when I want, some people want sex and they want to be married. I'm like, get a little wild. So like for me, I think doggy would be because I like that.
Yeah.
Whole scenario, the whole thing going on. But that's a really good question, because I feel like everyone's is so different of an answer. And some people have some like wild positions, like wheelbarrow shit, slinging from the ceiling. I'm like, some acrobatics. Do you have any other ones?
Yeah, I've got some other questions. I just like the way this is phrased.
Okay, let me.
What do you recommend for wanting to throw up literally every time I give a blowjob?
Oh, what do you recommend for?
I think that you get it out of your head, like what a blowjob is meant to be and meant to look like.
Is it the blow? What I'm wondering, is it the aspect of like doing the blowjob, or is it because of the?
Yeah, I think
that happened.
We need a clarifying question. Because there's a couple of solutions here. If a dick near your mouth at all makes you feel ill, don't do it. And then maybe talk to I would think therapy might be something.
Sex therapists are really, really amazing.
And also like, you don't have to suck on a dick. Like you don't have to. I think that like, if that's something that's important to your partner,
Then
that's
maybe figure something out in the middle or something. Yeah.
Because then I think there's like something mentally going on.
I think there's two things. Either, some people might, I never even thought of this, might get kind of nauseous maybe if they are about to have a dick in their mouth, which I personally do not. But I think a lot of people get a little bit nauseous at like the after product of when you give a blowjob. It's like that part can be a little bit interesting.
Yes.
And what would your solution be for that? Because I'm like, I don't like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, I guess you could always let go before that happens and let them.
You can, I mean,
they can
personally
come somewhere else on
I think you can shape, you can, if you think it's gross, like if you don't like goo, the goo, then you absolutely like bring your hands into it, get your hands involved, kind of like wait till that last minute. If you don't even want it entering your mouth, like, do a little swap in between kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I'm gonna sound crazy, but I don't particularly enjoy the taste of it, but I also don't like cleaning up the product off of me.
Got it. Okay.
So but which is funny because I'm blessed because like one of the greatest things for my current partner is I was like, oh, you taste like nothing. Like that was something I said. And I was like, you taste like nothing. It's like graphic of me.
Oh my god.
Sorry, Houston, if you're editing this right now.
Houston's like, hi, I signed up for this. No.
Yeah. I mean, if he's editing it, if one of these guys is editing it, they're the lucky guy to control what goes out. I think, but there's also like, if you feel like what I think from the phrasing of the question, how I feel what this person is asking is maybe like, you don't have to deep throat a dick.
No,
that's not necessary. It doesn't have to tap your throat. And I don't really think it like freaking matters. Like I have a terrible gag reflex, but I love giving oral sex, and you can do it like a corn cob, like back and forth like that. You can just like lick the tip. You can like bring your hands, like have your hands on the shaft and then have your mouth on the tip. There's like a few different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring in some flavored lube if there's like a taste thing. Flavored lube is great. Like then you might actually like want your mouth on it if you like candy and sugar.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is a nice flavor. Yeah, those are good, actually really good tips. Pun intended.
But I think if it's more serious than that, if you just like at the mere sight of it, then at the same time, like it's not a requirement. It shouldn't be an expectation. If that partner is like weird about it, then like fuck them.
Yeah. Yeah. Your partner should be obviously willing to accommodate and be, meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Is there another one?
Yeah, I've got a few. I just will say that a lot of the questions that I'm personally receiving is like how to have sex in my body and or bodies that look like mine. And I'm a plus size person, and I really don't think about it that much.
Yeah.
And I think that the biggest piece of advice I can give to you, because a lot of people are asking like, how can people like have sex with you if you have like a fupa? How can people like, I don't want to get on top. Everything is a case by case situation. Get on top. If your partner's uncomfortable, they'll tell you.
True.
Like you're not going to break their penis. And if
I think it's a trial and error, and what makes both of you guys feel comfortable. It's not like a one size fits all kind of thing. There's not going to be one thing that works for you that works for other people.
I have had lots of sex in my life, and I don't think that my body was ever a hazard, and I think that just like communication is the key. And I think that I always had more fear about my body being an issue before I actually got into the room and made things happen.
Got
it. The biggest piece of advice I can say is that like your partner, if you're afraid of like your partner like not knowing what you look like, they know what you look like.
Yeah.
They know.
They're obviously attracted to you, and they want to explore other ways with you. So I think the key is just like kind of going into it open-minded and communicating.
Also, if you have south-facing hanging boobs, there's an audience for that. Like you just see like on TV, you see a lot of upturned forward-facing nipples. And you would think that like that's all that
Oh
people
God,
like.
no, my boobs are definitely not Perky McPerkerson over here.
I mean, mine are only Perky McPerkerson because I had them constructed that way.
I have seen them. They are perky.
They're cute little boobies. When did I show you my boobs? I probably at some point.
You
I'm
sent
sure.
me a literal message of your tits in a DM, and then I sent mine back.
Oh, I remember that was before we were like really
Hello?
tight.
Yeah,
That was
and
before
I
we
was
were
saying,
really tight.
yeah, I was saying how like I really wish I wasn't so nervous to get a boob job because I always wanted to get a lift and a reduction, and
Yeah.
my boobs are definitely saggy-ish, and it's just like annoying to me. I don't.
I also was irritated by it. But more so, I just hated lifting my tits out of my fucking shirts when I take my bra off. I used to have big old boobies. But also, I will say that like now, I wish that I had like giant hanging tits to throw in Houston's face because he truly deserves it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a lot of these questions are about feeling comfortable as a plus size woman having sex. Plus size women, believe it or not, have sex every day.
Oh yeah.
Every day. And there's somebody bigger than you getting her rocks off. There's somebody smaller than you getting her rocks off. And there's somebody for everybody. There are people I see walking down the street and I'm like, oh, good for you. Like not for me. I don't want that, but good for you. And that's nothing to do with fatness. It's all personal preference. There's tons of like, I don't know, rock hard bodies that I would never fucking touch.
This is like the perfect way to explain when I was talking to Charlie when I talked about being bisexual is that I don't have a preference when you're talking about preferences. I don't have a preference to necessarily like, yes, I'm physically attracted to certain maybe types automatically off the bat, but I am more attracted to confidence more than anything. So for me, I realized it wasn't that it was a man or a woman or like, like you say, you can look at like a really ripped guy and like for you, that may not be for you, but maybe for someone else. There can be a beautiful man, beautiful woman, a beautiful whoever. And if you don't have certain things that like I prefer, which is again, sense of humor and confidence, it's not like that. Those are like so key for me that I've learned. And that was the best way of describing when I was saying that, oh, I'm coming out as being gay was that it's not that I see the gender, I just see a person.
Yeah. So and there's so much nuance in when it comes to attraction.
Yeah.
There really is. Like I was with a guy who really liked the fat fold between like when I would sit, how my fat would hit my upper thigh.
Oh, the thigh area. Yeah.
He thought that was like really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I that was something that I'd be like, ugh! And then there were dudes who liked that I had extra long mommy milkers that would like sag. Like I always thought I had like really thin tissue at the top of my breasts.
Okay.
And then like all the weight is concentrated low. It's still how my breasts are, is that I carry the majority of the weight at the bottom of my breast. So I'm not like voluminous up top.
Yeah. Same here.
And I was always like, oh, everybody's gonna hate my boobs. But like when you are like on all fours and they are dangling, lots of people love that. Like I think if you're just looking at like, it's just so weird. We talked about pornography earlier, but I do feel like there's a certain like homogenous aspect to pornography that makes people have sex in a boring way and like the same steps in a row, like kissing, titties, oral sex, penetrative sex, and then finishing cum in the mouth. Like I feel like if we didn't have like so much pornography, that maybe people would have sex in a more creative way.
Oh, that's that's a really good point. Yeah, I never thought of it like because there is kind of like a repetitive like schedule to how you do it, and I do think that people would be more creative in that way. That's interesting.
Listen, I had sex with a dude once who was homeschooled and like totally sheltered. I know you're laughing because it's like it's not Houston, even though Houston was homeschooled. This guy, like, he didn't even know the right words for this stuff. It was so embarrassing. Like, I sucked his dick and he called it eating him out, and I was like, no, boo boo.
Like,
he didn't even like because like he texted me. He's like, I love it when you ate me out, and I was like, excuse me.
You're like, wait, are we talking about the same thing right now?
He like didn't even know the words, but like this guy. And I was like, do you like watch porn? Because it just felt like he had never like I probably took his virginity. Like being
never
real.
Seen anything like that, or
he was so like nerdy and like literally looked like a grandpa. I was like, I have to fuck this guy. Like we all have our things. I like a gentleman who looks like he's of yore, but like still like a young man. And I had sex with this guy, and everything was so much more like textural, sensual, like
Oh, really?
yeah, like touching each other and just like rubbing our bodies together. It was really interesting. That guy sucks though, because like it's funny that I'm talking about this guy. I had sex with this guy when I was like 21, 22, and he found me on Instagram this year.
Oh,
And
wow.
he sent me a DM. He was like, "Hey, I remember you." And I was just nice. I was just like, "Hey, like how
How
have you
are
been?" I
you?
just, I was
Yeah.
just pleasant. And he's like, "I
Yeah.
still remember that night I fucked you." And I
No,
was
he
like,
did
"You."
not say
I was like,
that.
"You are like a 34-year-old man. Like, fuck you. Like, who talks like that
Wow,
right
that's
away?"
aggressive. Holy shit.
And he was like really aggressive back then. I mean, like not during the sex act, like afterwards, he was very. I think that I did take that virginity. I think I took a couple of guys' virginities, to be honest, because you can tell when you do. And I like nerdy guys, so it's just, par for the course, honestly.
You know your type.
Yeah. What's like the weirdest encounter, like where you walked away being like, I don't know about you, boo.
Oh God, there's only one well, actually, oh my fuck. Okay, like, oh my God, this is getting me so. Okay, so I had two. Okay, the first one was I was parked in a car. It was this guy I was really into. We were kind of like dating, and I had never given a blowjob. And we were in the back. We decided to go to the back of the car to like start making out and stuff. And I went to give him a blowjob, and I went to give him a blowjob, and I realized, like, again, I know people say size doesn't matter, but I had never experienced a really super small
Yeah.
dick. And so I was like, okay. And then I feel really bad that this happened, but he went up to text me, and I was like, oh, is it in? And he was like, yeah. And I just remember like cringing inside because I was like, fuck, I don't want to be a dick. But like, what the fuck? Like, it was rough. Or I didn't know what to do at that moment.
I've got the same story.
Fuck,
Like,
oh my
I had sex with a
God.
dude who, like, literally his dick was so small. I felt so bad. I also asked that question. Y'all, that's another good piece of advice. Don't ask, is it in, when you can tell that it was so, this dick was so small that, you know how, like, you're humping, and anytime it was not, it would come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
When he was
no,
like, it was out, and then it was in,
like
and then
that
it was
happened
out.
to me. I
And
literally can't. It was so like it was also, I will be honest. Um, most of the people that I had sex with, they had unusually abnormal huge dicks at the time.
good for you.
So that was the first one that was ever like, it wasn't just small, it was like, holy shit, like I'm not trying to, I don't want to insult you. I just don't know what to do because like this is wild to me. And that was like the time where I was like, I felt bad because I didn't mean to be insulting when I said incident. I just had no idea. I honestly couldn't tell at all.
I felt so bad when I encountered mine, because when I saw it, I was drunk, and when I saw this dick, I let out an audible sigh. I was like, like
Oh
that.
shit.
And I was like, oh man, what's funny is I knew this guy too. He was like a friend. I went through a phase of like, fuck my friends, because it's like easy.
The other weird one was this guy that was definitely different than my normal type. I dated a lot of most of the guys I dated were musicians, like hipster, like the hot guy that like sings or plays drums that every girl's like, I want to thick, like those douchebags. And like this guy was like the total. I had just got out of a shitty relationship. I was like, I'm gonna date a different guy, like whatever. So I dated a guy who was more southern, like like kind of a little fratty. I dated some like fratty guys, but this guy was like a fratty, bigger built guy, which I will say, my mom used to always be like, why do you always date the tiniest people? Like I always had a type of like small, skinny person, or sometimes they were like athletic build, like had muscles, but they were never like bigger than me. Like I was usually bigger than them. And this guy was definitely bigger than me, and he was so sweet and he was so kind. But I remember like, and he was such a like a southern kind of hospitality person. But we were kind of going on dates, and one of the nights I think we had went to a party, and then we were gonna go. I had never had Crystals. Do you know what Crystals is? The drive-through. It's like a very like kind of I don't even know how to explain it. It's very interesting place. It's a drive-through, and it's
like food.
It's like what? Yes, it's like White Castle but worse. Like it's it's like very
Crystal Burger. Yeah, I think that I have
probably
heard of
seen it. So we go to get Crystals. He's like, "You've never had Crystals?" I'm like, "No," because I'm at the time I was like vegan. Like, what the fuck? And so we go, and he's like, "You have to try these. They're so good." And I know a lot of people in the South like love crystals. So like, sure. So we get crystals. We go back to South BE. We have sex, and then like we leave our food on the nightstands because we're like drunk. We don't get up and clean it. So we wake up the next morning. And for some reason, this like set me off so hard. He rolls over in the morning and starts eating his 12-hour-old crystals that's on the fucking nightstand. And I was like, absolutely not. And for some reason, I dated quite a bit of smokers, like cigarette smokers, which is weird because I never was a cigarette smoker. And like one of my longest relationships was a cigarette smoker. And I literally don't know how he didn't constantly smell like smoke. He just was like very good at concealing
it. Comes with the wanting to date the
bad. I dated like the bad, hot wannabe. Like it was like fucking weird. And so the guy smoked cigarettes. That already kind of bothered me because he had like a little bit of a cough sometimes. I was like, that's not attractive. Like you're waking up in the morning, you're like choking on your lung, and then you're eating a fucking Crystals burger. I absolutely cannot. So then we go to brunch, and we are at brunch, and I'm thinking, okay, he invites me to brunch. Like we're with this other like couple. Like he's gonna pay for me, right? He literally was like, "Oh, sorry, I forgot my wallet. Can you like pay for my food?" And I'm like, okay. Like I was already trying to like try out a new type, and now I'm definitely not. And I straight up told him, I was like, sorry. And so and that was the moment where I was like, you cannot eat leftover fucking fast food on the side of your fucking dresser after you have sex with me. And you can, and sadly, the guy with the small pee did not work for me either. So those were my two like horrible stories that I had that I just like, oh my God, no, I have another horrible story. What the fuck? You're making me realize how many I had. This is actually kind of sad because do you know how like mental health, like mental health pill, like medicines can sometimes make you not be able to get off or get hard, which I didn't know. And I was seeing this guy, he literally looked like a fucking model. He was beautiful. He was Native American. Oh my God, he was stunning. The hard part was I was having sex and I thought there was something wrong with me because I didn't know. And so I thought that he was going limp in my hoo-ha. Like we would be having sex and he would be hard and then he would just like go limp. And I thought it was me. And then so I started to get self-conscious and I was like, am I not attractive? Like, is there something like, are you not attracted to me? Like, is there something I'm doing wrong? And finally he like sat me down and was like, no, it's my medicine. Like I can't stay hard. And it was really the first time I really got experience with like mental health and stuff because I realized how much it affected him and how much he was so embarrassed to tell me. And I am glad he opened up and told me that. But that was one of those times where I was like, wow, this is like, I'm glad to know this for like future and just being more mindful of those kind of things because his medicine just literally wouldn't allow him to get off or keep a boner.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because I think some people don't even realize that happens to some people.
There was the guy in college who ate me out for the first time. I loved him. I had such a crush on him. And I became like probably unhealthily interested. I thought he was like so smart, one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And he was like, you know, when people are people of very few words, there's a mystique about them. And so he didn't speak too often, but when he did, I felt like he always had something
like
fantastic
magical.
to say.
Yeah.
And but he was like the guy that would like drive me around drunk listening to the mountain goats. And
I can't with that.
hyper specific. I hope some of my old friends are listening to this and they know exactly who it is. But I loved him. I just was like so in love with him. I thought he was like the greatest guy I'd ever met in my life. And honestly, I feel like you know, I don't think that I was wrong. I think that he's probably a great person, but I don't know. I think he just had a lot of like secrets or shame, maybe. Because this dude, very interesting experience with him. Because he brought, I went over to his apartment after like having a crush on him for so long. This was like epic. This was like one of the biggest things I felt like happened to me because like I had this like crush that felt so one-sided. And then he was like, yeah, come over to my apartment. And I was like, yes, this is it. And I went over there. We like watched like a couple episodes of like a sketch show and then he performed the act on me, which I had so much body shame and I felt so bad about myself to have a guy like do this of his own volition. It wasn't me being like, hey, maybe we could try.
Yeah, he did it willingly. Yeah.
He was like and he was enthusiastic. This was his thing that he liked doing. And he didn't take his clothes off.
Wow.
And I didn't reciprocate for him. The whole night it was just the Rosey show. And and in the morning I just like, it was so funny because like after that I moved to LA and I think that I still sent him like nudes on his birthday. And like he would hit me up and we would like video chat like on whatever it was on the computer. I guess it wasn't FaceTime. Maybe we were using some like external app or something like that. But he still like wouldn't show the camera on him. And I always have wondered, just like years later, even like, did he have a small dick? Did he have
Because you never saw his dick?
Never. And then I actually knew a girl who dated him because what was upsetting is that people would confuse me and this girl. Like we looked alike.
Oh God.
And he dated her. He was kind of like talking to both of us and then he ended up dating her. And of course I was heartbroken, but that she and I became friends later on. And she said that he, like during the course of their relationship, which wasn't very long, he never showed her his dick either.
Wait, really? That's so fascinating.
And that's all he wanted to do too. And so I was just like, I wonder like if there was something meant. It's like it's an unsolved mystery of mine forever. Yeah. And I'm just like, I wish maybe I'll talk to a tarot reader and be like, yo, I just have one question. What's going on?
What's going on down there?
I hope wherever you are, sir, I hope that, I feel like he had to have like grown up and hopefully he's gotten over whatever the situation was. I hope that someone is devouring your dick on a daily basis. Because like, I think that
this
like
is
that
a very supportive podcast. We are here for you.
Really, I think that like having someone like perform oral sex on me when I probably was at the lowest point in my self-esteem was very meaningful for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell that was like definitely a monumental thing, like a moment that you will remember forever.
Coming of age for sure. And I don't remember if it was good or not.
You just remember the whole scenario and that it was important at that time.
I feel like that feels more like my first time.
Yeah.
Than my actual first time.
That's major.
Ooh.
Damn.
Ooh,
damn. Okay. Well, do we have any other questions or should we cut the sex talk? Gave him all the juiciness.
I am having fun. I say, I don't know. We can make an extra long episode.
This is going to be an extra long, and I hope you guys enjoy it because we're actually having a lot of fun talking about all our stories.
It's really funny how oral sex has been bookended in my life because I got my first orgasm when Houston did that to me, and I cried after he did it. Did you cry?
Oh my gosh!
I never had an orgasm with anybody before. Even
was it did you like go like, oh my God, like wow, this is like wild because you never.
I had the orgasm with Houston, and he like went. He probably was down there 30-40 minutes, a long time. Marathoning. He did it though. And I cried, and it was because I had an ex-boyfriend I talked about on another episode who told me my body was broken. And
so it was like kind of one of those moments where you were like, I'm a human being. Like,
and now I'm marrying him, so
full circle. I love
it's the power of the orgasm and the power of oral sex, gentlemen. If there's any gentlemen
listening.
We have some more questions.
Oh wait, I wanted the questions. I didn't know if we did. That's why I was like, not trying to be weird. I was like, should we cut it? Is there more questions?
We got more.
Give me the questions.
I'll let you field this one.
Okay.
Because I have become uncomfortable with this.
Oh, okay.
my butthole closed up, but how do you get comfortable with anal? Because I'll take your advice too.
I feel like, first of all, I don't really do that anymore, but when I did, I feel like, well, at first, the first time obviously is like fucking terrifying. Let's be really honest.
Yeah.
My boyfriend at the time was very into it, and I was like, I don't know, because every time it would happen, obviously you feel like, holy shit, this does not feel good. And so basically over time, I actually got like a small uh like dildo dick thing, and I would use like lube and like kind of essentially like stretch your butt out so that when a dick goes in, it doesn't hurt. I actually remember the first time actually haven't had anal sex like a ton. I've had it like a good amount, but not like a ton. But one of the times that after I had done those like techniques, I had anal sex with this one guy. And first of all, I didn't know he was gonna do it. He accidentally fucking slipped it in. And thank God I was prepared, because if not, also his dick was like average-ish, maybe a little less average. So thankfully it wasn't like this giant thing going in, but because I was had prepared, it wasn't bad. But I feel like I feel like I like control. So I like to prepare myself beforehand, and like over time it will relax you and allow it to be a lot easier to happen. Because if you don't like slowly, gradually train your asshole, basically, it's gonna hurt. I don't care how much fucking lube you use. Unless you train your asshole, it's not gonna work. It's gonna
That's
hurt.
true. And I think that you can lose it, because I had a very unpleasant experience, and my butthole has not been interested in that act, even despite being in it. I mean, it's great because I have a partner who's completely disinterested in it, completely disinterested. Yeah. So I'm glad for that, because I would not be able to provide. And I'm just like, I think that it's a spicy thing. I think it's fun when it feels good. It feels great. Because I got to a point where I was enjoying it. And then my butthole was like, I'm not cooperating with this act anymore.
Have you ever pegged anyone?
No, I think it's not the first time I've been asked that. I think maybe I give that vibe to people, but
no, I just have heard. I think it's like more common than I think it is, because I feel like I've seen more people saying they have, which I never have. So I'm always like wondering the people around me who have, because I've never.
I think I'm too selfish. I think that sounds unfun for me. I'm kind of a pillow princess, admittedly. I like to rest upon my pillow and let somebody else do things for me. My ideal situation, this is my favorite way to have sex. We're just going to go there. I like to be laying down, fully naked. I like my partner standing up next to me, and I like to suck on that dick while that person plays with my boobies and my giny. And to me,
my giny,
that's heaven on earth.
That's so funny. No, that's such a I think it's just, again, comes down to personal preference. Like this image of Rosey right now, if you're watching on the YouTube channel. Is there any other questions that people had for us that are?
Yeah, I think, you know what? I really wish, I don't think my audience is super, I think a lot of my people that follow me are moms. I don't need to know shit about.
Oh, gotcha.
But, and, I think that the repetitive thing is being a big woman. And I'm just like, I don't know how often it's come up for me mentally, being like, I don't know how to fuck with this.
I think that I hate to use the word confidence, but I think that if you're going into it with someone and obviously they seem interested in you, you have to be confident knowing that obviously they're wanting to have sex with you because they have some kind of sexual attraction to you. So they, like you said, they know what you look like. Yeah. They know what's they know it. You naturally, your body and your mental and the way the brain works, you're going to figure out ways naturally that work.
What you're saying about confidence is so true. I feel like sex I've had that was bad sex was when a guy, I felt like he lacked in confidence.
Yeah.
Or lacked in enthusiasm, or, it's great. It's really fun to have a partner that is enthusiastic and is having fun and doesn't feel ashamed
Yeah.
of themselves in any capacity. And I feel like that can take all the spice and fun out of it. So I feel like go into it. It's a great piece of advice, Ashlee. Honestly, like I think that fake it till you make it.
I do. I think confidence is so important.
Even if you don't feel confident, like create a scenario
Well,
in your
that's why I
head.
think these are so important too, because I really do think that if you are in, I think a lot of women get in the bedroom and maybe don't feel like that aroused or something. But a lot of times, if you take a toy that is, then it kind of puts the power back in your hands and then you feel a little confident. And then, like,
Mm.
you can build upon that and you have someone there that can build upon that. I think that's very helpful.
Also, make sure you're safe. If the
Yeah.
person you're with is a safe person, because I feel like some of the uncomfortable situations I've had is like when I went back to a guy's house and I wasn't totally comfortable with him,
Yeah.
and I felt like maybe scared.
Yeah.
Don't go through. If you feel uncomfortable at all with somebody,
Don't. Yeah.
fuck them.
Don't.
I got myself into like many times, I would say, as a young person, where I would go to somebody's house and I'd be like, something feels a little weird.
Yeah.
And then what do you know? It would be weird.
So key takeaways from this whole podcast is confidence.
Yeah.
Confident, be safe, trust yourself, and not one size fits all.
Oh yeah. For everything.
For everything.
Not one size fits all. We talked about so many different sizes.
I know.
I mean, but sometimes if you got a tiny little dick, dude, and you're falling out of the lady, if you're a man and you have a tiny little penis, you need to have a couple of sex toys at your house. Yeah. Would you use it if a man brought out a vibrator? Would you use it, or would you be like, "This has been in someone else's giant"? I mean, like a dick's been.
Think about that. Oh God, yeah, I didn't think about that. I think it would be a situational thing.
Yeah,
I think it would depend on the person and depend on how I feel and about the whole situation. I wouldn't say no, but I wouldn't say 100%. It really depends on the situation, I feel like.
I'd be like, is this sanitized?
Yeah, like, has this been, what is going on here? Tell me the story. You need this for what reason? Okay, you have a smaller dick. Okay, let's navigate this situation.
There's no shame also in like getting like a little pocket vibrator that you keep in your bag for your fun like night out on the town, because you never know. And like you should get off. I feel like if I had to go back in time to my I'm gonna ask you the same question. If I had to go back in time to my younger self, when I was like being really exploratory and like having lots of fun, I'm still having fun now, but I mean like with strangers, fun with strangers. I think that I would have like a toy, like a tiny discreet toy with me that I would bring. Or if they came to my home, I would like bring toys out more often, because your pleasure is really important. And like, if they can't handle that, I'm kick them to the curb.
I think that is something that a lot of people don't do. That probably would be helpful. I feel like that would have helped me in those times. Like, because you're dating or having sex with random people, and like, they're not going to always know how to like figure you out instantly. So I feel like having that with you would have been probably life-changing.
Yeah. And I wish that I think that like the generation right now, like Gen Z kids, like people in their early 20s, I feel like that probably is a little bit more commonplace. And I think that people understand that. Is there any pieces of advice you would give to your younger self, like as like someone who is more in the like the fun, no strings attached sex scene?
Give to my even I feel like the only thing is that when I was younger, having this like wild one night stands, woo woo, I feel like sometimes I would kind of, like you said, I would have sex with people that maybe it was okay, but you get that feeling where you're like, should I do this? Is this a good idea? Am I just doing this because like, oh, I had a couple beers and like I kind of want to feel like sexy, but then I'm not really feeling sexy because this guy's kind of like weird. Probably best thing to do is not do it, because like you just always wake up and you're like, okay, I gotta go. Like, this is just like not a vibe. Like, it's when you just feel like a little off and a little bit like it's grimy and not gonna like, it's not worth it, just like back out, leave the house.
I had sex with a few people like for the story. Like,
okay,
like this guy's so weird, or like this guy is like, I had sex with a dude who's like he was like in an open relationship with a dominatrix, and he was like he was like a life extensionist, so he like didn't eat food. He just ate like ground up vitamins. And
Whoa, I didn't know this was okay. Wow, I didn't know this
he
was
was definitely like, and he was like a kind of like a goth sort of dude, like, but like kind of dressed like old timey. Um, and again, like older than me. I had like when I, especially in LA, like if you move to a big city, you're gonna meet so many like just like birds of a different
Oh
feather.
yeah.
And I definitely feel like I hooked up with people just being like, "Ooh, I want to try this on for size." And I think that I would have like had sex with like I don't know, this sounds so mean. I'm like kink shaming, but like more like everyday people because I was like so hell bent on like having all these like
I think I was a little
experiences.
bit like that too, where I wanted so many experiences. And I think that comes down to me for some reason thinking everything had to be like a porno. So I was
Yes.
like, swing me from a fucking chandelier. Like it was just like that kind of shit. And I'm like, I think that I still think some younger people have that expectation too. I don't know where we get that from. I don't know why we think we have to have, but I do feel like you said having more like less swinging from the chandelier experiences.
Yeah, I think that I definitely like girl, I did some crazy things and I felt like and maybe it was just that era, like I was mimicking things I saw on television
Sure.
like I think that people always maybe it's because like shows like Sex in the City or Girls, like every episode they had to have something
Oh,
unusual
yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like I think that I was just like, "Ha, this is normal." And there are a couple of times where I'm like, "Dude, like that guy was kind of a dick and you shouldn't have to play his little
Yeah.
games unless you want to." I wish that I had done things more just because I was like, attracted to someone and less like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this guy who's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. I agree with that. I did have great times though, and I am glad I got a lot of experiences that I had. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do think that a little bit like different of a mindset or not assuming like if I go home with someone like I have to like, oh well, I guess we'll just sleep together. Cut, like that's
Yeah.
mm-mm.
I think that being in a relationship has like really opened my eyes to like what I really like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I was kind of playing a character a little bit in my
Okay.
20s. I think everyone does a little bit.
I think you do because that's how you kind of end up finding what you really like or not. I think you kind of everyone goes through different stages of like a persona because I definitely tried to be like the cool like groupie band girl with all the band guys. Like it was like who was I? Why was I at a skate park? Like what was I doing? We don't know. Like why did I always date musicians? They looked hot on stage. That was it. Like it's just such a weird. It was a weird time. I pretended to
Yeah.
like so many cool bands. Like I loved underground bands, but like Ashlee, really get your shit together. Why are you in a mosh pit? Like what is going on?
I think that I kind of like went through this phase that I had this like hardened exterior,
Mm-hmm.
this kind of like use them and lose them kind of a vibe. And I think that maybe I don't think I missed any opportunities to get to know people, but maybe I missed more opportunities to have like relationships
Relationships. Yeah,
because
I
I was
get
like,
that.
bye.
I think that comes with being a strong, kind of confident person, though. With that comes like you almost feel like you have to have that exterior because sometimes I catch
Yeah.
myself feeling that way. And sometimes it's even hard for me to be vulnerable because I even now, so I'm like still kind of have that sometimes. And Charlie is like, you don't always have to prove that like you can like live on your own and be fine by yourself because you're a strong, independent woman. Like we already know it, like reel it back, Ashley.
Wow,
But
I definitely have that exact same issue.
and Charlie's like, oh, we get you, like we get it. Like because I don't know why I do that. I do that all the time. It's just something that I'm learning to try and be more vulnerable and be more okay with like
Yeah.
lovey-dovey shit. Cause like for me, that's actually really hard. Like I never was into PDA when I was younger. I was a very like confident, walk down the street, no fucks given, like kind of person. And now I'm like, oh, it's so lovey-dovey shit. So hard for me. Oh my God. Like I'm like, oh, like it was actually refreshing being around you and Houston in Disney because you guys are really sweet together. And it was actually like really nice to be around another couple that was just like genuinely cared about each other and like very sweet together. And then like it in turn made me like very sweet to Charlie. Not that I'm like an asshole to Charlie, but you get what I mean. Like you feed off each other's energies. So
Yeah.
it was like a refreshing thing to be around people that actually like care about each other, you know?
It's really exciting to be around another couple that I can tell like are actually friends in the same way that we are like really close
Yeah.
friends. I think that like I mean some of the relationships like and I think you get this way from working with each other. But like some of the relationships that were modeled for me, it definitely felt like my parents don't have a lot of overlapping interests personally. Like they're
Yeah.
more like I think they're more like husband and wife than they are like I would best
Best
friends.
friends. Yeah.
And I think it was like one of the best things about my relationship with Houston is like how much we genuinely like have in
In
common and
common.
things that we enjoy. And I definitely see you guys like I can tell you guys are best friends.
I
The way
think that's
you
important. I think it would be weird. Like I see relationships that are strictly just like you said, very like I don't want to say surface level, but just like you said, husband and wife. Like, and I don't know how I could function in a relationship if I didn't have a lot of common interests or like the same kind of like we laugh at the same things. Like I had parents that like literally have nothing in common. So I feel like that I'm like the complete opposite. I wanted someone that was like a best friend.
yeah.
Um, and I think in the end of the day, it's like a comfort thing. Like you get to come home to someone, even though they're your husband, they're also your best friend. So they're going to be there for you, even if you're yelling at each other, even if we're mad at each other, we're still like, oh, I'm sorry. Can I console you? Even though we hate each other right now, I'm going to hug you because you're my best friend kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting. But I feel like this, we like we open the gates of sex talk for the world to hear. I
Yes.
hope you guys really enjoyed this conversation because we went over a lot and we loved your questions. Thank you guys for sending those in.
And if you guys like these longer episodes, I think we'll try and have like at least one or two a
Yeah.
month that are super long.
Yeah.
I know that we got a lot of requests for it, and I know we're happy to do it. So
Yeah.
I had
We
a lot
love
of fun.
talking. Well, like, subscribe, comment down below with anything that you want to share sex wise and ask questions. We will gladly answer them in the comment section as well. So,
If you have any episodes you want us to cover, like any topics you're interested in hearing us talk
oh,
about,
yeah,
I
let us know.
so open to that because we will just talk about fall otherwise.
Yeah. Chuggy shit.
Yeah.
Okay. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye.